Welcome on back to a new edition of the N Harmon Show. I'm Dalton Wicks alongside Eric Harmon.
Today on the N Harmon Show, we got football, and more football.
Sounds like a plan to me. Special NFL edition of the N Harmon Show. Brought to you by...
Football?
Football, yeah. I was going to say, Madden. Come on, throw us those sponsorships, man.
If we beg for a sponsorship, we'll get it. One day away. It's here.
We are ready. We are ready to dive into this. Let's do it. So, first thing is first. We're going to kick off with kind of wrapping up the preseason, I guess. Everything that went on, some storylines, some what we can grab from what happened in the preseason. So,
there were some interesting storylines. Not a lot of them. Some of them having to do with on the field issues. Most of them being off the field issues.
Yeah. So I think we'll start off with the one that's kind of been running around for the longest. I'd say the Kaepernick situation. Colin Kaepernick. For those of you who don't know, Colin Kaepernick decided in one of the preseason games to sit during the national anthem, and he expresses his belief and his opinion about how oppression still exists in America, and that was him kind of showing that he doesn't want to support that kind of bigotry and the continued racism and whatnot that goes on against blacks and other colored people.
Yeah, we talked about this in length last week, and it's good to see that the public perception, I feel like, in the last week it's
lightened.
Yeah, it's become more positive towards Kaepernick. He had a couple other players who actually joined him in kneeling. I think one of the Seahawks, a corner over there, and then Eric Reed for the San Francisco 49ers also joined him. So 3 players total. It's interesting to see as time goes on how more and more in the media have been like, oh, maybe we're on the wrong side of history on this one, and all these people saying...
He also, I think, did himself a favor came out and said, did he say something about if he gets fined, he's going to donate the money?
Oh, no, it was all the money he's making from the jersey sales he's going to, because he's now shot up the list in jersey sales, so I think he gets a cut of it, and he's decided that with that cut he's going to donate to charity.
Well, I think he'd also said, I forget what situation he would get fined, because normally the way fines work in the NFL is supposedly, that's a whole nother conversation, but supposedly the NFL takes the fined money and donates it to a charity.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think Kaepernick had said, I forget what it would be that he would get fined for, but there was something that he is supposedly in danger of getting fined for this season. And if that was the case, he was going to just see if the NFL would let him choose the charity that he can donate the money straight to.
That's good, yeah.
I think Kaepernick's done a good job of, well, not really.
Well, he explained,
just kind of lightening the
he
situation.
was so articulate in the press conferences he did that I think he really showed that he had a good understanding of what the situation was like in this moment. He's convinced people that it wasn't just a publicity stunt, and I think that the public has responded in kind. I mean, and the fact that I think the biggest telling thing is that he has shot up to the top of the jersey sales, because that's a large amount of the NFL's fan base declaring that, you know what, we support this statement, this political statement. So good for him. I'm glad the way it's going. I hope it keeps going the way it's going. More people are aware of the situation and starting to do stuff about it. So this is a good storyline. I'm glad the way this turned out, I feel like, and hopefully it keeps going that way.
It's refreshing to see people in his position doing something, at least, and not doing nothing. That's what I think most people need to keep in mind here. I think the biggest problem people have had with this is people just don't like change. The people who just are very traditional, they don't like seeing change. You don't like seeing things. So like a tradition where everybody stands for the national anthem, to see someone not stand for the national anthem, they just lose their mind over that. But I think as time goes on, certain things will change. I mean, we've seen plenty of things change over the years that were totally normal from before.
I think it's crazy to just compare this to, because this happened, I don't know if it was in the 90s or the late 80s. There was that basketball player, I think he played for the Denver Nuggets, I forget, he changed his name to a Muslim name and then didn't stand during one of the national anthems, and he was it basically killed his career back then. So it's interesting to see how we've developed as a society and culture-wise to be a lot more accepting of what happened.
Okay, so we're going to move on now to Joey Bosa. The saga has ended between the Chargers and Joey Bosa. He signs a deal at last. Cutting it pretty close there, but he's inked. He's on the team. So reports have come out that it's a $26 million deal.
What?
For 4 years.
Yeah, he gets the largest signing bonus in the history of the Chargers.
Yeah!
That's the big thing right there.
And the Chargers get their offset language, so if he does leave the team, he can't double dip with his bonus money.
Okay!
You kind of thought that Joey Bosa from the entire time was willing to budge on one of these two situations, and it was the Chargers who were not budging on anything. So public perception went towards Joey Bosa. It seemed that finally, the Chargers kind of had a bend to get their guy and actually get him on the field. Because, he signed, like a week ago? He still hasn't suited up in pads yet. So he's not going to be playing this first week, obviously.
It's good to see that he did finally sign, though, because you don't want to see first-rounders just fall by the wayside, and you don't really know what's going on with that. So he's signed now. At least you can now start to integrate him in practices and just kind of start to slowly build him up. Obviously, it's a huge blow that he wasn't able to really get much action in preseason, but if they play their cards right, he should be maybe good to go week 4.
Yeah, I was going
to
say this guy's a high IQ football player anyways. He's not known for his athletic ability. He's known for his technique and his high IQ. So if there's anyone who can learn an NFL defensive playbook quickly, learn the reads and everything, I think it's this guy.
Yeah, so we'll monitor that situation as the season goes on. Hopefully they develop some better terms and chemistry.
Oh, you're talking about on the field stuff, or are we talking about Chargers front office?
Well, just the front office, and then, just kind of everything, really. His relationship with the front office, his relationship with his teammates. I hope that you never hope that things just stay hostile. You hope that they can somehow find some common ground.
I would hope the players themselves would be able to because it seems like it's an organizational thing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a grading issue between the players. So I hope that the players, will be accepting of Joey Bosa and bring him right in, and they get to work. They're not supposed to be the best team this year. But, who knows? Who knows? Phillip Rivers, they got a couple weapons at wide receiver, so maybe they can turn it around and bring another team into the action of the AFC West.
I think the Rangers got that wrapped up.
I do that a lot. when we're talking to sports, football, and baseball, I do that a lot.
This is the NFL edition, Eric. NFL edition.
I know. I've been like, oh man, talking baseball again, and now that we're not talking baseball, I'm like, hey, where's the baseball talk, man? Like, all right.
You love it, but you also hate it.
It's because it's not September yet. Because this is the first week of September. I feel like, we'll get into it. We'll get that baseball. We'll
jump on. It's gonna get hot. Pennant races and everything. It's gonna get hot. We'll talk more of that next week. So on to some slightly more depressing news now from the NFL.
Yes. Huge
blow, absolutely monumental blow to the Minnesota Vikings. Teddy Bridgewater, their quarterback, young stud, looked pretty good last season. He unfortunately suffered a very severe knee injury, and he's going to miss the entire season.
It wasn't just like one single tear, right? His entire knee.
Oh, yeah, it was a dislocated kneecap. It was a complete tear of the ACL.
Yeah.
You hear of torn ACLs, but not many complete tears. Yeah. That's pretty bad. Hopefully the Vikings can kind of salvage their season.
Their backup was Sean Hill. So.
Yeah, well, Sean Hill's still going to start in week 1. But just to kind of go over what they're missing with Bridgewater, last season threw for over 3,000 yards, completion percentage of 65%. Pretty solid there. 14 touchdowns against 9 interceptions. Was kind of a fumble magnet, though. Unfortunately, he had 8 fumbles, but he also had an 88.7 passer rating, which
isn't terrible.
Not too bad, yeah. So he was very serviceable, and I think what you don't see in the stats is the fact that he was very mobile too. Mm-hmm. So he's not quite on a Russell Wilson level or anything like that, but he was one of those guys where he could easily get you that extra chunk of yardage in like a 3rd and 7.
The Vikings, outside of QB too, they think that they're ready to make that push for a Super Bowl. They think they have the talent too. So Teddy Bridgewater really was that guy that they had trusted to, lead that team and take care of the ball, because, they weren't asking him to kill oppositions like an Aaron Rodgers through the knee like that. They were just asking him to let all the skill players around him do their thing. And he was pretty good at that, I'd say. He turned it over a little bit too often last season. They were expecting a little bit of development in that area and had their eyes set on a potential Super Bowl run. And then things changed.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You'd like to see a guy like that continue to progress in his game and get better and better, and he was probably due to take another good step forward this year and maybe take the Vikings into a pretty decent playoff run. But unfortunately, he's going to have to make a very, very serious comeback in the next year or so. But I think he can do it. The guy sounded very determined when he made his statement. He was, thanking everybody for supporting him and all the prayers and well wishes, and he seemed like he was already on the road to like getting his mind just back in the game for next year. He's determined, he's ready, he wants to get back there as soon as possible.
Yeah.
He's got the right mentality.
Definitely.
You smart. You loyal.
And this made the Vikings make a move.
Yes, indeed. So,
Desperate move.
Who did they get, Eric?
They got one of the most fragile QBs in the NFL. Probably the most fragile QB, Sam Bradford.
Sam Bradford. So the ridiculous trade train for this guy continues. So not only do you get him traded to the Philadelphia Eagles from St. Louis, but now you've got Bradford sitting over in Minnesota because they were really desperate for a quarterback.
They're desperate. The situation, from what I've understood it, Sean Hill is obviously not a guy that you'd want to start long term. He's a stopgap in case Teddy Bridgewater went down short term. So that Teddy Bridgewater went down long term, this close to the end of the season, teams just smelt blood. Every team was basically asking for, no matter what, a first round pick and a good young player to get a QB. And it seemed like the Vikings just were forced. They looked at their options and said, we don't have a lot of options, but I'd rather go with someone relatively young and maybe could do something in either Sam Bradford or Chase Daniels, and then it focused in on Sam Bradford.
In the past 5 seasons for Bradford, he missed all of 2014, so that's a huge red flag right there. So in the past 6 seasons, he's only reached the 16-game plateau twice, both in St. Louis. And in 2013 and 2014, he played a combined 7 games. He missed all of the 2014 season.
So he
played 7 in 2013.
He started from his rookie season, right? If I'm looking at this correctly. So
yeah,
in that 6th season, so he should have played 96 games at this point. He's played 63. That's 33 missed games over 6 seasons. That's fragile.
Yeah. Would you say a little Derrick Rose like the NFL version of the Derrick Rose?
And it was also predictable too. Remember when he was in college too, that tackle that did it just right onto the shoulder too. Just from that day on, it was just you could tell he was going to have shoulder issues because that's the type of injury that just sticks with you, like right in that joint, coming right down on it hard like that. It doesn't look good for QBs, and it never works out well for him usually if they get hit like that.
Well, to his credit, last year he was very serviceable. He did only miss 2 games, played in 14, and reached the 3,700-yard plateau, also completed 65% of his passes. So very, very serviceable. 19 touchdowns, also 14 picks, though, and 6 fumbles. It's kind of Bridgewater-esque. He was very serviceable. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
That's what the Vikings were looking for. They just want some sort of even mediocre consistency because they didn't really know what they're getting from a career backup in Sean Hill. Yeah,
and like I said, this is an all-in move because that first-round pick, if things go somewhat to the plan of what they think will happen, that could be in the 20 through 30 slot, which wouldn't be as valuable as, if they're terrible, if they had Sean Hill as their QB. So...
yeah, that was a pretty significant haul there. The 2017 first-round pick, and then next year after that, a 4th-round pick, but it can be switched to depending on...
conditionals,
conditional.
Can it go all the way up to a second?
Yeah, it can.
Yeah,
it
so
can go
that'd
up to
be
a
quite
second.
a haul for the Eagles.
It also says that the Eagles paid $11 million of Bradford's salary as part of the deal, so I guess that helps.
Yeah, I think they're only paying about $12 per year, the Vikings are, for Sam Bradford's services, which is pretty... reasonable too.
And he's only on a 2-year deal.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure that was the length of the deal he had signed originally. So it's not a significant.
So our conclusion is basically, despite all the hubla that everyone was saying about this original trade, it's kind of in context, kind of reasonable.
Yeah, when you see the salary included, and the only thing, you never know with the first round picks.
Yeah.
You never know what you're missing in terms of value. You could find out in that next draft that there was somebody sitting there that you could have snatched that is a possible game changer.
But they're willing to make that trade from the 40%, 50% chance of having, you know, that first round stud to getting a quarterback that may be able to just get them to the promised land. And I think it's a well-reasoned trade. Nothing really logically sticks out from the front office's point of view to make that move. And I just hate Sam Bradford, so.
I hope he does okay for the Vikings, because I kind of want the Vikings to come in and all of a sudden give Green Bay a nice little run for their money and just bring in
That's always a great rivalry.
Just bring in some new competition out in the NFC, because it seems like we've seen too much of the Seahawks and Panthers and stuff like that over the last couple of years.
One of my favorite matchups, I feel like, in Monday Night Football, Sunday Night Football, is that late Vikings-Packers game with the snow and everything. That's always just an iconic game to go and see, or to go to watch on TV. So when both teams are good, especially too, just amps it up just a little bit more. Let's go. Love me some football.
Well, if Adrian Peterson is feeling himself like usual and he's on his A game, if they get him rolling, Bradford's just a little bit serviceable, kind of being Alex Smith, where he just coaches the game a little bit. That doesn't do too much, and then they let that defense, which I think is underrated. Their defense is going to be pretty solid. I think that they could make some splashes.
I'm glad you mentioned Alex Smith, by the way. Just see that big Alex Smith fan over here. He's been killer in this preseason. I'm just going to say he was methodical. I am pumped for a Kansas City Chiefs run because, you know, as a Niners fan, that's kind of the Chiefs. For some reason, are the Niners like cast-offs? I don't want to say cast-offs, but Joe Montana went there. Alex Smith went there. You got a couple of QBs. There's some history between the Niners and Chiefs for some odd reason. I don't really know why. Go Chiefs. Go Chiefs. Go Alex Smith.
Come on, Eric. You got to know better than that. We're in the Bay Area right now. You can't be saying go Chiefs when we got Raider fans listening.
I know. I was just doing that to troll some Raider fans. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I think the Raiders are going to be doing quite
good. I mean,
we're going to definitely talk what the Raiders got up their sleeve this year a little bit later. But first, wrap up these storylines real quick. Josh Sitton, 5th highest rated guard in the NFL last season, and all of a sudden the Packers looked to trade him, didn't find any takers, and then they straight up cut him.
Yeah.
5th best guard in the NFL. And so, yeah, he did have a little bit of a salary cap hit, but I didn't think that the Packers were really trying to squeeze pennies. It didn't really seem like it. I thought there had to have been some sort of off-the-field issue that no one was leaking out or no one was talking about, but haven't heard anything yet. He gets cut, and now he's with the rival Chicago Bears, who look to be a team that might be on the rise a little bit this year if they can get any kind of good play out of Jay Cutler. And their young team kind of takes another step forward. So
yeah, anytime you're cutting a guy who's been a second-team All-Pro the last 3 years and a Pro Bowl in 2012, 14, and 15, like you're really taking a good amount of talent off your roster. And it looks like no one really knows why. There's another guard, TJ Lang. He just was quoted as saying that nobody's safe, I guess. There's not a lot of trust there between the players in the front office, which is kind of weird. I never thought that would be the situation in Green Bay, seeing as how their front office and ownership, like, isn't it supposed to be like the fans or something like that? I mean, as I say that in air quotes. So you would have thought they'd be focusing on that relationship between front office and the players. But hey, they lost their guy, and he's now on a division rival. So it kind of...
I don't think that made Aaron Rodgers too happy, too, getting rid of one of the better guards in the NFL.
A lot of dissents. I mean, hopefully it doesn't cause issues for Aaron Rodgers in that high-powered offense. Even as a Niners fan, I say that because I drafted Aaron Rodgers in one of my fantasy football leagues. But those biases come out, people, and you'll figure them out from me from time to time. It might all just be fantasy football bias.
All right, the last storyline we were going to talk about today, not exactly huge news. It's not all that surprising, but still a little bit. Jared Goff, #1 pick for the Los Angeles Rams. Los Angeles Rams. Got to keep getting used to that. No St. Louis here.
But y'all don't say that.
So the Los Angeles Rams made a pretty big investment and gave up a lot of assets to acquire the pick to draft Jared Goff. And he's not going to be active week 1. Not due to injury reasons or anything like that. He just really struggled adapting to the new league, some stiffer competition in the NFL, and his stats, I mean, he was looking at 22 of 49 passing in the preseason, which led to a 45% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns and 2 picks and 3 fumbles. So it's not looking like he's having a good time transitioning so far.
Yeah, from all reports, it is apparent that the game's a little bit too fast for him right now. And that'll come with time, but, with how quickly paced the NFL has become in expecting results, you got to wonder if Jared Goff might be swept under that sea of expectations and results that are needed in the NFL. And he just hasn't looked like he's known what he's been doing out there. Like, he threw one of the interceptions, he just threw straight into a defensive lineman, got popped up into the air. I mean, it's not looking good for Jared Goff. And on top of that, he had, like I said last week, he had those interesting comments on Hard Knocks that probably set off some awareness, I guess, really issues for fans. So it's a double 2 strikes now, I guess, in terms of is this guy going to be ready and smart enough to play in the NFL? And we're going to see. It's going to take some time. Hopefully. I mean, maybe it's it's definitely a good thing that they're not going to let him play at all in this first week, keep him on the bench, because that's obviously what he needs. So you just got to wait to see how that one's going to end up playing out.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so I think we're going to look at what are our thoughts at the conclusion of the preseason. What are our takeaways from the preseason action so far?
There weren't too many big injuries. That's the main thing I want to see going on the preseason. Just not a lot of guys getting, those big season-ending injuries. You had, I think, that one of the tight ends out of Baltimore who.
It was Ben Watson.
Yeah, Ben Watson.
Go down with injury. Obviously, Teddy Bridgewater and Tony Romo, but those seem to be, for now, the only 3 real major injuries suffered in preseason. I think there were some other existing injuries that are keeping guys out for the beginning part of the season that we already knew about. But as far as injuries suffered in the actual games, I think it's been okay for the most part.
And I think that what that might have been, what last year, all those injuries in the preseason, maybe it was because it was the first couple. It's been the first couple of seasons as the NFL's changed to having less and less practices. So maybe we're finally hitting that turning point on teams adjusting to this lesser practice, how much they need to play their guys in the preseason so that they can keep them healthy for the regular season, and hopefully we'll see less and less injuries going on or going into the further seasons. Going into the regular season.
Yeah, I would say we got to really look at if we're going to base our predictions for the season off of the preseason, because you know how vital the preseason is. I'm looking at the Ravens, Texans, Eagles, and Vikings.
Wow, that's the top 4 that I was actually going to have in my predictions. So
all 4 of those teams went undefeated in the preseason.
Yeah, Baltimore Ravens, definitely. That's going to be happening for them. Texans, too.
I think I will
Titans went 3-1.
I think I will buy the Cleveland Browns going 0-4 though.
Yeah,
I'm gonna jump aboard that ship.
Yeah.
So them and the New Orleans Saints, they were the only 2 0-4 teams. So, Saints, I think, will obviously rebound a little bit from that.
I'm predicting a Super Bowl right now. Browns Saints. Super Bowl, what is this? 51-50? I don't know, but here we go.
That's bold.
RG3 versus Drew Brees. Let's do it. Hugh Jackson versus Sean Payton. 2 offensive-minded coaches. That'd actually be a fun game if they had good teams.
It would be. I think maybe a 40-30 final score or something like that. But I'd watch it. I'd watch it. I think it would get a lot of ratings.
If they had good teams, is the conditional you need to put on that statement, though.
All right, award prediction time. We're going to talk about who's going to be winning the big awards this year in the NFL. We'll work our way up from the bottom to the top. We got 4 that we're going to keep in mind here, starting off with the Coach of the Year.
All right.
Eric, why don't you kick us off here?
I'm going to say that Mike Zimmer, he's going to get him Coach of the Year after he leads the Vikings to the playoffs without a QB.
So you're saying Mike Zimmer is going to go under center. And he's going to go in there. Oh, gotcha.
He's going to put on the helmet. This is what a real coach does. He leads by example.
I mean, even Mike Zimmer can hand the ball off to Adrian Peterson.
Exactly. So. It's only 2 steps and you're good to go, all right?
Okay, I like it. I like that pick. I mean, Zimmer's a good coach. I think he'd be a well-deserving candidate. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with a hometown guy.
Okay.
Jack Del Rio.
Ooh, okay.
For the Oakland Raiders, because I think he's going to lead the Raiders to the division crown, and they're going to take over the Broncos and Chiefs as the class of the AFC West. So
yeah. That is a
there you go.
Good guess. I like that guesstimation. I'm sure all our fans are going to love that guesstimation, so let's see it happen.
Raiders! Let's get it going this year. I hope the Raiders can make some noise. It's been a while. Let's cross our fingers for the black and silver. They're going to get it done this year.
Yes.
Okay, now we're going to move on to most improved player. So a player that may have been injured a lot.
Comeback. Most improved or comeback.
Comeback, whatever you want to call it. So a guy that maybe had been battling a lot of injuries or just down numbers. Who do we think is going to make a nice little comeback here this season?
I'm looking at a new running back, or an old new running back out of Seattle, Christine Michael. He was cut by the Seahawks, I think, 2 years ago, and where did he go? He went to Washington and went back to Dallas, and now he's back in Seattle. And he's looking pretty good. He won the Thomas Rawls is a little bit hurt right now, so that helped for Christine Michael in that running back battle over in Seattle. But he's going to be getting the opening day starts, and he's looking pretty good. They're hopeful that he can have a good season.
I'm going to stay on the running back train here, but I'm going to go with one that's a little more established in the NFL that some people may have forgotten about. Arian Foster.
Ooh, okay. All right.
Over in Miami. He won the starting job with the Miami Dolphins this year, so it's week 1. He's going to be out there taking the first team snaps, and I feel like he's primed to make a bit of a comeback into the conversation of some of the better running backs in the NFL. I don't think he's quite going to crack top 5 or anything like that, but maybe top 10 and get in there and make some noise as a guy who's relevant and productive again. He's kind of battled a lot of injuries over the past couple of years, and his production has waned, but I think it's time to reinvent himself in a new situation, a new team, a new staff and everything. I think he'll do well.
I think he declared publicly that he was atheist, and then God decided to smite him 25 times with different injuries. It wasn't the smartest of choices for him there, but yeah, it's hopefully I would like to see him bring that life to that Miami offense. Hopefully, give Ryan Tannehill a little more time. I don't want to say a little more time, but give him another option out there to feel comfortable to make bigger plays himself out there, and lead to some more balance from that Miami offense. Maybe they can rebound and have a good season, push those Patriots a little bit.
Yeah. I was going to say, Tannehill needs a nice little sidekick there at running back, because I don't think he can really shoulder too much of a load at quarterback. Nice little balance needed, because remember, he was able to lean on Lamar Miller.
Exactly.
But now Miller's taking his talents over to the Houston Texans, so Foster's got some pretty decent shoes to fill over there, because Miller's been
They switched spots. I just realized those running backs just switched spots. That's all that happened there.
Yeah, pretty much. So now we're going to be moving on to Defensive Player of the Year. There's some pretty big-time candidates here. So obviously, number one guy you're going to think of is J.J. Watt, the guy who's been dominating it the past several years. You've also got an up-and-comer in Khalil Mack from the Oakland Raiders, who's been absolutely on a tear and on a sky-high rise in the past year or so. And then you've also got some other guys who aren't really quite getting as much notice or recognition. Guy like an Aaron Donald, or I don't know. What are some other ones that you'd like to throw in? Von Miller for sure.
Getting some talk. You actually threw out the name that I was going to go with. I was going to show those Raiders some love, and I was going to say Khalil Mack. I'm feeling him for Defensive Player of the Year. Good last year in what was supposedly his breakout year. I mean, when you break out on top of breakout, you hit that Steph Curry level, right? So, I mean, maybe that's what we're going to see this year. 25 sacks and 35 sacks. I don't know. The sky's the limit from this guy.
Yeah, this dude totally broke out into the NFL last year. Was a sack machine, 15 sacks on the season. And honestly, if it wasn't for a guy named J.J. Watt, he probably would have ran away with the Defensive Player of the Year award. Also threw in, 57 tackles as well. So he's ready. He's primed. Yeah. He's ready to make another leap forward and kind of anchor this Oakland defense to relevance again, really.
And they're adding in Bruce Irvin, too, to help him out.
Yeah, Bruce Irvin's going to be a huge help because he's going to be able to line up opposite Mac now, and it's going to be kind of a double-teamed attack. So I like it.
Cray.
My defensive player of the year, I really want to say Mac, Raider fans. I really do, but as I saw someone else wrote online when I was looking at some articles yesterday, when a guy wins 3 out of the last 4 defensive player of the years, how can you vote against him now? I until I see otherwise, this is J.J. Watt's award to lose. He's going to be taking home another one.
Another one.
Even though everybody's making a big deal out of the offseason surgery he had and if he's going to be up to 100% or not, the fact is, even not 100% J.J. Watt has a pretty good chance at taking home this award. It could be 80% J.J. Watt, and he might have a good chance of doing it.
He's the only defensive player who has as big as impact as he does. I mean, not even just on the defense side, just on the offensive side as well, special teams. I mean, he does it all, really, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. He's catching passes, sacking guys, I mean, making big plays. So, yeah, I can see him winning the defense player of the year. But then again, you maybe see they don't want to give it to the same guy year after year, so they throw it.
Well, they have been really the past couple of years. They don't really have a choice, especially if he puts up gaudy enough numbers. I mean, I think the biggest thing that could go and help him even more this year is if Jadeveon Clowney finally busts through and makes a name for himself, because then that's going to force the O-line to shift their attention to some other guys and not just solely worry about J.J. Watt wreaking havoc.
Can't just throw a tight end to chip off him every single time and have a double team out there as well.
Okay, so now let's talk MVP, Most Valuable Player Award. Lots of different candidates. Obviously, mainly you're going to be looking at quarterbacks for the most part. There are some other guys that could possibly take some attention away, like I've seen some guys throwing out the possibility of wide receivers maybe taking it home this year. Like you mentioned, the guys that are threatening 2,000 yards, like Antonio Brown. But, I mean, mainly we're going to start off with the quarterbacks first. So I'd say some names that are thrown out there already are guys like Aaron Rodgers. Russell Wilson's been a name that's been tossed around a little bit as well. Cam Newton obviously won it last year, so he's got to be in the conversation. And even a lot of people, and I don't know if I think I'm pretty with this crowd that are assuming that Tom Brady's going to come back on an absolute, he's just going to wreak havoc on the entire league once he returns from suspension. But I don't know how willing the NFL would be to hand the MVP award to a guy who served a suspension the same season. But so what are some guys that are piquing your interest right now?
Big Ben, Aaron Rodgers, and as you were saying, Antonio Brown. Those are 3 of the big guys that I can see. The other wide receiver being Julio Jones out of Atlanta, just because you might be seeing bigger seasons from them on top of the 1,800-yard seasons they already had. Hopefully, that's what I'm hoping to see.
The one big thing I'm going to say real quick, though, about just between those 2 guys, Antonio Brown, yes, Julio Jones, no. And the big reason is because the Falcons probably are not looking at a playoff berth. So yeah, that's a big factor when you're taking in who's the MVP. It better be someone who absolutely blew the doors off of the competition if they're on a non-playoff team.
True that. Even though 2K, maybe that might be enough to blow the door, to hit that 2K and receiving yard mark to actually do it. Maybe that is what it is to get you in that MVP talk, but we haven't seen it yet, so who knows?
So who you got, man?
Man, that's between 2 names for me. I think it's either going to be Aaron Rodgers or Big Ben, and I think I'm going to go Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have another, I don't want to say a bounce back season because he's always good, but I think he's got Jordy Nelson back, and I think now's the time. They're going to make another run again this season and top of the NFC, and he's going to be the reason for it, and they're going to win themselves he's going to win himself a nice MVP, I should say, not a Super Bowl.
Okay.
Yeah. What about yourself?
I like it. You know what? I'm going to go with a guy that was just recently traded, actually, Sam Bradford. No, I'm kidding. Wouldn't that be some sort of turnaround? Comeback player of the year, Sam Bradford, MVP.
36
just give him all
TDs,
throws for 5,000 yards on the season.
2 interceptions. Looking good out there.
You can do it!
No, in all seriousness, I really don't like the Seahawks, but I just got this strange feeling that Russell Wilson's gonna have a bonkers season and go out. It's either gonna come down to him or Rodgers. I think Rodgers is gonna be a little pissed too because he's kind of not been quite Aaron Rodgers level recently.
Yeah.
He's gonna have Jordy Nelson back too, so he'll have some weapons around him to play with. But no Josh Sitton to protect him. It's going to be Wilson or Rodgers, and I think Wilson's narrowly going to edge him out just because I think Wilson's got less to work with in the receiver corps, so people are going to give him some points for that.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. So, yeah, we got our awards done. Oh, anything else? What else are we predicting?
All right, so now we should just move on and predict the playoff teams now.
All right.
So who we got from each division? Who's representing in the playoffs?
All right, I'll start with the NFC. You're going to get two teams, I think, from the West, Seattle and Arizona. I think Seattle will take the division. I think Arizona will be a wild card team. Down south, Carolina will get in for sure. North, Green Bay, Minnesota. And then out east, oh man, it's maybe Dallas,
East.
maybe the Redskins. It doesn't really matter.
East.
It doesn't really matter. So those are my 6 teams I have going in. I'll give the 1 and 2 seeds to Carolina and Seattle. Yeah, those are my 1 and 2, and then the other 4 being Arizona, Minnesota, and Washington, or the Cowboys, one of those 2. Yeah. There's my NFC. What's your NFC?
Let's see. I'm going to take the Arizona Cardinals to win the NFC West.
Okay.
And in the South, let's take the Carolina Panthers to win in the South. Packers will take the North.
Okay.
And the New York Giants are going to win the
Really? Okay.
NFC East. And the 2 wild card teams would be the Seahawks and let's go with the Detroit Lions.
Ooh, really? Detroit Lions, are they supposed to be good this year?
I think they're supposed to
really
have a nice little bounce back
about
here.
them, so, yeah.
I mean, Matt Stafford, it's got to be time for him to make some sort of breakthrough as a decent... I think it's make or break this season with whether Matt Stafford's the real deal or not. So I think Stafford's going to make a nice little push, and I think that they've got an underrated team this year, I think. The people are overlooking them quite a bit just because mainly they're in the same division as the Packers, and the Vikings have got a little bit of press too, but I think they're going to sneak in there.
Okay.
Sneak in the playoffs.
I like to see that. I like to see the Lions get in. I mean, Stafford had a good year last year, something like 32 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, and 4,000 yards plus. So he was up there. If he can improve on that, man, definitely I could see the Lions making a push, especially now that they have Anquan Bolden, that San Francisco Baltimore Ravens superstar. I'm not hyping it up at all. That's exactly the level he's at.
All right, yeah, and give me the Cardinals as the number 1 overall seed, the Panthers at number 2, let's say Packers 3, Giants 4, and then the wild card teams. I'll go with Seattle as the first wild card, and obviously the Lions as the second.
Okay. On to the AFC.
All right, what you got?
Let's see. AFC. Whew, okay, I'll start with the East first.
You should start off with a really tough one in the East.
Yeah,
right
okay,
here.
so the East is going to be the New England Patriots. They're going to be getting that one.
No way,
Yeah,
dude. I never would have saw that coming.
North is going to be a battle between Cincinnati and Pittsburgh, but I think both those teams are going to get into the playoffs. I'll decide who's going to win the division later. South, you're only going to be getting Jacksonville. That's where my guess is going.
You were on this Jacksonville hype trade this year. Okay.
I am.
All right.
And then out west, you're going to be getting Oakland. And so that leaves one wild card team, right? So, man, there's a couple of teams that are just mediocre at the bottom level or at the bottom end of the playoff spectrum. I'm gonna give it to.
I mean, you totally glossed over the Cleveland Browns, dude. They could totally be a wild card team.
Let's see. It could be the Jets. It could be, Denver, maybe Kansas. Actually, no, it can't be Kansas City, Okay, I say it's going to be the Jets or Kansas City, so I'm going to go with Kansas City. Yeah, that's where I'm going to go with that.
All right, and then what's your seeding look like?
It's going to be New England number 1. I'm going to have Pittsburgh winning the division and being number 2. 3 is going to be Oakland. 4 is going to be Jacksonville. Your wild card teams are going to be... who did I say they were going to be? They're going to be Cincinnati and Kansas City. So I'm going to say Cincinnati's the 5 and Kansas City's the 6. That's where I'm going.
Sounds good. I like it. All right, I'm going to start off with, obviously, the New England Patriots are going to win again in the East. It's kind of sad at this point how little competition they have.
Yeah.
So the Patriots will win again in the AFC East. In the AFC North, I'm going to take the Pittsburgh Steelers to win the North. Houston Texans going to take the AFC South. J.J. Watt's going to break Blake Bortles' clavicle, and that'll be the end of Jacksonville.
All right.
So on to the AFC West. I'm sticking with the Raiders pick to win the West. And then the wild card teams, I'll take 2 AFC West teams.
Really?
The Broncos and the Chiefs.
Okay.
I'm going to say the Bengals miss out entirely, and so do the Jets. And as far as seeding goes, I'm going to take the Steelers as the number 1 overall. And in the AFC East, the Patriots sitting at the 2. And then you'd have Houston at the 3rd one and Raiders at 4. And then the 2 wild cards would be Broncos and Chiefs in that order.
Okay, I like that. Yeah. I thought you would have put New England at number 1.
No, I think that Garoppolo might set them back a little bit. I'm predicting him to go 2-2, and I don't think Brady's gonna win every single game when he comes back. So
you're thinking
there might be 1 or 2 games of kind of adapting back after the missing time. So 12-4, something like that, and then Steelers might go 13-3, or might win based off of head-to-head, something like that.
Yeah. I hear you. All right, so playoff predictions.
Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me?
Do you just want to do... I say we don't need to do every playoff game.
All right, let's just go AFC Championship. What you got, AFC Championship?
AFC Championship. Ooh, what I want to see is New England, Oakland. Yes, that is
rematch from the Tuck Rule.
New England, Oakland. Yes, that is exactly what I want to see. Wouldn't that be okay? I know you're a Patriots fan, so you're not gonna like what I'm suggesting here. But wouldn't it be poetic and just like literary justice if Oakland finally got their revenge like 14 years later, and that also like marked the end of just the Patriots dynasty, and the start back up with the Raiders dynasty. Like that's like great book writing right there. It's literary genius. But I know you're not for it. So
I'm not. I wouldn't be too mad about that. Honestly, the Patriots have had an absolutely historical run of dominance in the past plus decade, really. Yeah. And if that means the Raiders can finally come back into contention, and then it gets the fan base all excited again, then so be it.
Yeah, you're humble man. It's appreciated. That's a good way to look at it.
Four Super Bowl rings in the past 15 years. Yeah. I can't be mad about that. That's pretty dang fantastic.
That's how I look at this Giants stuff. So I feel you.
So yeah, AFC title game, or who you got? Are you gonna honestly take the Raiders to go to the Super Bowl this year, Niner fan?
I guess I kind of feel like I have to pick the Patriots. Oh man, you know what? I'm gonna pick the Raiders because I just gave that whole scenario, and I really want to see it. So yeah, let's say my AFC prediction is I'm putting the Raiders in the Super Bowl.
So that's not an impulse thing.
That's absolutely an impulse thing right now. I mean,
you truly feel that the Raiders are the class of the AFC this year.
No, this is what I want to see. This is what I want to see, definitely, for sure.
I've got a feeling that you're actually thinking the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to make a run.
Because the Steelers are going to be good. My first thought was, okay, before I saw that Raiders thing and went on the whole Raiders-New England thing, my first thought was New England and Pittsburgh would be the AFC Championship.
That's the popular pick right now.
So, yeah. So, I just wanted to kind of switch it up a little bit because I wanted to talk about the whole scenario of that whole thing. But if we're being realistic, New England, Pittsburgh, I mean, man, that game can go so many ways. I still think the Patriots would take it. I mean, it's 16, 20 weeks away. So, but I like Tom Brady still playing late over. I don't know. Over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers don't have that crazy tough defense that they were known for 8 years ago. And
yeah, they've definitely shifted over to an offensive minded team for sure. Yeah, I don't see any teams that are going to beat them out at this point. Obviously, injuries can have a huge impact on that decision later on in the season. But for right now, the way things shape up, assuming Brady comes back and is Brady, and that Antonio Brown keeps dominating and Ben Roethlisberger's an MVP candidate, I don't see anybody taking those two teams out of that AFC title game. And obviously, I got to go with the Patriots going to the Super Bowl. So
yeah, don't blame you.
Truly, I do think that the Patriots, just based on having a guy like Gronkowski to throw to in clutch situations, and one of the best dang kickers in the NFL that no one likes to talk about. Gostkowski's amazing at kicker, and then you've got Brady, who just knows how to get it done. So
I'm excited to see how Bennett's going to fit into that situation well, because when Aaron Hernandez was there, they were both top 5 tight ends.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true.
So they could be dominant once again. On to the NFC.
Yeah, so what you got in the NFC title game?
Ooh,
this is not as set in stone, I think. It could be a little more open.
Yeah, I want to see... I think I'm just giving you what I want to see more than what because it is kind of open. I want to see Green Bay. I want to see Green Bay and Carolina. I think that'd be a fun game. Off Cam Newton versus Aaron Rodgers. Give Cam Newton a second opportunity to go back and redeem himself in the Super Bowl versus Aaron Rodgers, who's the golden boy at the quarterback position in the NFL. That'd be a great matchup and be fun to watch. And who do I have winning it? I want to say Green Bay Packers. I think I've chosen Green Bay Packers in a lot. I have a feeling they're having a good year this year. So Green Bay Packers.
All right, I like it. I'm gonna go with Arizona Cardinals, Green Bay Packers.
Okay.
So unfortunately, Cam's gonna fall short in his quest to get back to the promised land this year. And it's going to be Bruce Arians and company, Carson Palmer, Larry Fitzgerald, and that very stout Arizona defense. I think they've got one of the better defenses in the entire league.
Yeah.
And they're going to be going up against Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Jordy Nelson, like I said, he's back in the mix. Randall Cobb. That offense is just, I think they're hungry. They're ready to get some things rolling again. The only thing I'm iffy about the Packers because if they suffer one injury around Rodgers to a guy like a Cobb or a Nelson, all of a sudden I'm getting really hesitant about putting them in that position. I think health is going to be major key for
Plus,
them.
their offensive line has traditionally been pooey, so...
yeah, to put it lightly.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say I have to throw in a little safety net. If the Packers do suffer a pretty significant offensive injury, then I'm going to have to throw in the Seattle Seahawks to sneak in there. But ultimately, I was going to take the Arizona Cardinals no matter what, too. Because that's going to set up for me a not as known storyline, but for the Super Bowl, the New England Patriots traded away one of their top defensive players from last year to the Arizona Cardinals, Chandler Jones.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be a very interesting Super Bowl matchup where he faces his old team and he's going to be out to really prove himself and prove that was a dumb move by the Pats.
That whole Jones family is a beast. Just sidebar. Jeez.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I don't know who the third brother is. I know it's John Jones, Chandler Jones, and there's a third guy. I don't know who it is right now, but that's just a family of just athletic freaks over there. But yeah.
All right, so then who you got winning the Super Bowl?
So I have Patriots versus Packers.
Battle of the old school versus the newer school.
Yeah. Man, this feels disgusting because I'm a Niners fan, but I'm going to go Packers. So, yeah. I feeling a big year from Aaron Rodgers.
He could be out there for blood this year. He could be out there trying to just snap some records and just out there to totally embarrass people.
He's got his weapons back. Eddie Lacy and James Stark are.
I think that's the biggest key for them to get success this year is Eddie Lacy.
Yeah.
If he can stay healthy and if he can have a season like everybody knows he can, that'll be huge.
Exactly, and get a little bit more from their offensive line. Because if they move up from like one of the worst to a league average offensive line, and they'll be set.
All right, yeah, I feel you. This is tough because I can't just simply ignore the Arizona Cardinals being such a well-rounded team. I mean, Palmer has been very, very good at quarterback for them. Fitzgerald's been one of the most consistent receivers you could ask for. I mean, Patrick Patterson on defense, Tyrann Mathieu. I mean, they are just loaded on several fronts. So part of me wants to say, like, I just don't know if the Patriots, but, I think Brady's going to find a way. I think this is going to be the last of the New England Dynasty championship that they get with Brady, Gronkowski, Edelman, Gostkowski, all of these guys. This is the one to kind of sew up the long dynasty that they've led.
All right.
And that's going to be kind of it for them for a while. They're going to be going through a lot of rebuilding.
So then next year is the transfer of power from the Patriots back to the Raiders, is what you're predicting.
Yeah, could be, yeah.
It actually really could be, yeah.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. I mean, with Del Rio having another year under his belt coaching, and then Carr getting more experience, and Amari Cooper taking the next, I mean, I could definitely see that, for sure. And then Mack, and if they add even more to that defense, dang, that could be a scary team for the next couple of years.
Reggie McKenzie's putting together a well-oiled machine in Oakland right now. Well-oiled.
All right, so we're going to jump into these week 1 matchups now. Let's do some quick predictions on what we got. So first off, first game of the season, obviously traditional Super Bowl rematch. We got Carolina Panthers at Denver Broncos. The big storyline here, obviously, Peyton Manning not quarterback anymore for the Denver Broncos. Brock Osweiler also gone. And now it's going to be
Trevor Siemian.
Did
you hear what his stats were in college his final year?
I did not know.
He's Northwestern. He threw something like 9 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, had a 55% completion percentage, picked in the 7th round by the Denver Broncos, starting in week 1. Oh, man. They are in a bad state.
Hey, but honestly, if there is a place where you can afford to put in a less experienced quarterback and that can have help around him, I mean, dude, Demaryius Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, then you look over on that offensive line, you've got guys like Ryan Clady, and they just got a nice little beefed up offensive line.
You look behind you, you got C.J. Anderson. He's a good running back over there.
Yeah, pretty good little running back there too. So I mean, that's a place where you can afford to, I think, have a not as great quarterback. I mean, look at they won the Super Bowl last year, and Peyton Manning had probably his worst season of his entire NFL career.
Yeah, that's true. Everything you just said is true, but I think we might be closing the gap between what's a below average quarterback and what they have right now. Which is because Peyton Manning, even when he can't throw the ball, is still mentally just,
one of the smartest guys.
Exactly. Able to make adjustments that put the defense on their heels. And even if he can't make the throw, they can't be as aggressive as they want to be because he can exploit their aggressions with his mind. That's gone now. And you're putting in an untested rookie who's going to be a little bit flustered. So, yes, you do have a lot of weapons around this guy. I think he can make completely crumple, completely just fall apart. So Carolina Panthers at something.
Okay. Yeah, that Carolina team is also very well rounded too. They're going to welcome Kelvin Benjamin back, one of Cam Newton's old friends who was down for the whole season last year. Add him to Ted Ginn, and then you got Luke Kuechly, Thomas Davis, and that beastly other side of the ball. They lose Josh Norman, which is a pretty decent blow. A lot of people talk about how they think he's overrated, but he still was by far the best defensive back on that team. It wasn't even close. So that's going to be a little bit of a blow to the secondary, but there are still plenty of guys who know how to play some dang good football over on the Panthers side of the defense side of the ball. So I'll take Panthers to win, but it's going to be closer than people think because that Denver defense is also they had their way with Cam Newton last year.
Yeah, completely.
They had their way. So I'm going to say probably 14-10. I'm gonna say
game score.
That's the game score.
Right,
it's gonna be low scoring, especially on Denver's side of the ball. They're not gonna be able to do much.
All right.
And we can go through some of these. We'll focus mainly on the bigger matchups, but we'll run through the other ones. Okay, Tampa Bay Bucks at Atlanta Falcons. Who you got?
New head coach Jameis Winston in his third year, I think. Against Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, and the Falcons. I'm gonna go with. I like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on an upswing. They're looking to have a more positive season this year than the Falcons are, and they're going to start it off right.
I'm with you. I'm going to say Tampa Bay Bucks over Atlanta Falcons. I'll say 27-14.
Okay, I'm not going to do scores.
I'm going to throw in scores, man. I'm all in, baby.
All right.
Okay, Buffalo Bills, Baltimore Ravens.
Ravens in a bit of a mess right now. Even though they're the home team, Buffalo...
Joe Flacco, though, man. Flacco.
But they don't know what they're doing at the running back position right now. They're weak at the wide receiver position. Pitta's... I don't know if they're injured at the tight end position. I don't even know what's going on. Or I kind of know what's going on with the Baltimore Ravens, and all indications are it's going bad for the Baltimore Ravens. So I'm going to go Buffalo Bills. Another road team that I have. That's 3 for 3 on road teams that I've picked to start this. We not have expected that. How about you got? Who you got?
Yeah, I'm with you. Buffalo Bills, just because I like Tyrod Taylor with the Bills, and Rex Ryan, I think it's just going to out-coach John Harbaugh here. I've normally been a big anti-Rex Ryan guy, but I think John Harbaugh is a little overrated as a head coach, to be honest.
The Ryans are together now back in Buffalo, and
yeah.
Rex is gaining a couple pounds. They've been eating all that pizza.
Yeah. I think it's, combined with Tyrod Taylor leading the way, and that defense in Buffalo is pretty stacked as well. So I think that's going to be another low-scoring game. Buffalo comes out 17-10.
Plus, they might be getting Ricky Jarrett. That's a Ballers reference. I don't know if you've been watching Ballers, but
no, I can't say I have.
All right.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to Chicago Bears at Houston Texans. I think this is a pretty easy one.
You think? You go first then, because I'm on the fence on this one.
Houston Texans. Yeah,
I don't know anything about the Bears.
J.J. Watt's active. Clowney's active. They've got Osweiler and Miller both active. The new acquisitions. I think there will be a little bit of an adjustment period on offense for those new guys, but I think this is a pretty good opponent to start that off. Not saying the Bears are the worst team in the league, but they're definitely
pretty
not
down there.
Yeah, they're pretty far down there.
Not many weapons. Alshon Jeffrey, they're their only offensive weapon right now, basically.
Pretty much. It's the Alshon Jeffrey show.
At Houston, so I'll go Houston too. That seems like the lock. So yeah.
Yeah, I'll probably go 20-13 on that one. And let's move on now to Green Bay at Jacksonville. All right, Mr. Jacksonville, is this where they start their run off?
This is going to be a...
in Jacksonville.
I'm going to put a score on this one because I'm going to be going against Jacksonville, but I want you to know that this game is going to be really close, all right? Really close. It's going to be a 35-38 shootout, all right, that ends on a Green Bay Packers field goal. Aaron Rodgers drive that he leads, all right? So just perfect offensive games from both of these guys, from Rodgers and Bortles. It's going to look good, but Packers are going to pull out.
You ready for my prediction?
You're going to have the Jacksonville Jaguars?
42-24 Packers.
Okay, never mind. All right, okay.
I think Rodgers is going to come out of the gates gunning.
And blow him out.
And he's going to just put up way too many points for them to even come close to
Jacksonville might be sitting on their hype a little bit.
Yeah.
I could see that happening.
And I'm saying really it's going to be like 42-14 or something in the fourth quarter, and then in garbage time the Jags will pick up another score or two.
All right.
I really think that Rodgers is going to come out of the gates gunning, and he's going to be ready. Chargers at Chiefs now.
That's easy for me, Chiefs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chargers. I'm sorry, Chargers fans, if you're out there. It's just not looking that great for you this season. I mean, yeah, Phillip Rivers, he's you pretty much know what you're going to get from him at this point, but he's kind of like the longer tenured version of Matt Stafford at this point, where it's just like he's solid, but I mean, what's he really accomplished in his career, to be honest? I mean, they've been good at times, but they've also not been so good at times.
Yeah, Chargers, especially with a front office that might be trying to move, and brings up the whole question of if they might be tanking on purpose.
I think this is more about the Chiefs are just a way better team. I mean, they've got an absolutely stacked backfield now with Spencer Ware and Jamal Charles coming back from injury, and then Alex Smith, one of the best game managers around in the NFL, just knows how to make the smart plays, and then they've got that really, really good defense, too. Mm-hmm. They've got guys Justin Houston's going to be out for quite a while, unfortunately, but you've still got guys back there like Eric Berry, who
comeback player of the year,
overcame cancer, and now he's one of the best safeties around in the entire league. So I'd say Kansas City Chiefs, it's not even close. I'm going to go probably 28-13, maybe 31-13 even.
All right, on to the Raiders at the New Orleans Saints.
Ooh, this is tough because Breeze is currently negotiating a new deal with the Saints. In most of these kind of situations, it's usually right up until the first game, and then the deal's going to get signed or announced. It's looking like that right now. It's really progressing. And when a guy signs a deal like that, especially in his case, I think he's going to want to go out there and really prove himself like, hey, that was the right move to sign me to that deal. So I'm torn here because the Saints, they've always been known for a pretty decent offense, but the Raiders' defense is stacked up quite a bit this offseason as well, and they're just improving. So this is going to be the first step towards the Raiders.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah. This is their first statement game in the Dome of New Orleans. Woo! Place where it seems like there's a little bit of a home field advantage for the New Orleans Saints ever since they've come back from Katrina and all of that. It seems to have, a second, like a little aura of it to itself, like the Saints feel good about playing there, but the Raiders are going to go in there. Yeah, I'm going to say they're going to put a whipping. I feel like I think the Saints, you're right, their offense is expected to do really good things, and I think that this is just the game where the Raiders defense just surprises people and shuts down that New Orleans offense in week 1 and puts a whipping on them.
I can see that happening, but I'm actually going to say this is going to come down to a Janikowski field goal winner. I'm going to say 27-24 Raiders in the fourth quarter. So
I got Janikowski on my fantasy squad, so I like it.
I got to respect the Saints being in the Dome. I can't say that they're going to get blown out in week 1, especially. Certainly hope that they don't do that for their fans in week 1 at home. All right, now we'll move on to Bengals at Jets. Andy Dalton and company. I got to root for my boy, man. And then you've got the New York Jets, Ryan Fitzpatrick back in the fold.
Fitzpatrick, I do like Fitzpatrick. He's a
little underrated, yeah.
I think he might have a better year than he had last year, actually.
He kind of reminds me of an Alex Smith kind of guy, too, where he's not going to do anything too flashy, but he just knows how to quarterback.
Yeah, Jets have that good run defense.
Yeah, they really do. That front line for the Jets is scary. Absolutely scary. Muhammad Wilkerson and company, those guys are just big boys looking to wreck you.
I'm thinking of how confident I am whether Andy Dalton can get the ball to his outside threats in his passing game. And I think that might determine what happens in this game against that tough New York Jets defense. And I'm leaning towards the Jets on this one. I think the Jets might, week 1, shut down the Bengals' passing and running attacks. Because they're going to be going, I think Jeremy Hill is getting the start week 1 behind Andy Dalton. So they're going to go a little more power in this one. And I think that might not work against the Jets. I don't know. Or actually, I don't know. Going up against the power, maybe they'll have Giovanni Bernard in that second running back spot, but still utilize him more. So who knows? But I think the Jets are going to take this one.
This is a bit of a statement game right here for either team because these are both playoff hopefuls. I think more wild card hopefuls at this point. I mean, the Bengals actually still have a pretty decent shot at trying to overtake the Steelers for the division lead. But, I mean, the Jets, they've got an uphill battle with the New England Patriots being so dominant. I'm going to say the Jets are going to take this game. It's mainly because of, like you said, the run defense. I mean, they're going to be looking – the Bengals' main game plan, I think, that they're going to be going for that really helps out Andy Dalton open up the passing game is they want to build off of the handoffs to Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard. They want those two guys to really establish the run game, and then that will open up some play-action passes for A.J. Green to get some nice passes from Andy Dalton. And I think if this really stout New York Jets defense just totally suppresses the run attack from Cincinnati, they're going to become way too one-dimensional, and then all of a sudden it's just going to be the New York Jets all the way. So I'm going to say probably 24-13 New York Jets, and the Bengals aren't really going to have an easy time scoring.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that.
All right, really tough one here. Actually, it's because these teams are in such bad shape. The Cleveland Browns at the Philadelphia Eagles. Do you just flip a coin?
That's terrible.
Yeah. Oh man, who's worst right now? Oh man, I kind of want the Browns to win. I'm just gonna, because they're both so bad. I want the Browns to win this because I'd like to see
RG3 just go bonkers.
Yeah. Both these teams are pretty disappointingly bad. What's the point?
It's such a tough one for me because RG3 hasn't really seen real NFL action coming at him in a year or two.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. And also, then over in Philadelphia, you've got the rookie going.
Is it Carson Wentz who's going to be starting?
Wentz is if he's healthy, that they said if he's 100% ready to go, then he's going to be the man.
Okay.
And they're assuming he should be ready to go. So I don't know. It's really a toss up. You got a totally inexperienced guy, possibly going up against a guy who's kind of been out of it for a little while. So. I'm gonna go Cleveland, I guess. I think Philly's that bad.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it's gonna be a struggle for Wentz to adapt in his first real taste of an NFL regular season game, and I'm gonna take the Cleveland Browns to win a very sloppy game that's gonna end up being 17-13.
That's right where I see it too.
Yeah,
10-7, 7-3.
Okay, so now we're gonna move on to two teams that are looking to improve upon last season, looking to make a bigger splash and improve a lot. You've got the Minnesota Vikings, obviously the huge blow to Teddy Bridgewater, so now they're going to be starting Sean Hill at quarterback. It could transfer over to Sam Bradford as the season goes on, but Hill's the guy who knows the playbook well right now.
Yeah.
So it's going to be Hill against Marcus Mariota, looking to take another step.
This is in Tennessee too. It's going to be a hot summer day.
The new guy at running back. They've got DeMarco Murray.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning Tennessee on this one, even though I have high hopes for the Vikings. I don't know how much I like that NFC or the North teams coming down early in the season, having to play a road game deep in the South of America. It kind of does suck. So I've always felt like that's an advantage for those teams down there. So I kind of like the Titans in this one. They have a running base system. Of course, the Vikings do too, but I like Marcus Mariota and DeMarco Murray to do something at home in this first week. And Vikings with Sean Hill at QB, I don't know yet. It might take a couple of weeks for them to figure everything out.
I've got 20-17. I'm going to take the Tennessee Titans to win this by a field goal.
Yeah.
I don't think the Titans are that much better than the Vikings where they can really run away with the game, but I think they're going to slightly edge them out just because obviously the Hill factor at quarterback and then the fact that the Titans have home field.
Yeah.
Peterson's going to do his best to keep the Vikes in the game, but I think it's going to come down to the Titans just having a little bit more talent on their side. Yeah. All right, Dolphins at Seahawks. I think this is a pretty easy one for me.
Yeah, Seattle Seahawks.
In Seattle,
yeah.
I'm going to take Seattle, and I'm going to take Seattle big. I'm going to go 38-17.
Yeah, I agree.
That sounds about right to me.
I was feeling 34-17, so we're in the same ballpark there too. So, yeah, I like that. Good pick.
Both my MVP candidates, Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, are going to come out the gates just clicking on all cylinders, ready to take the NFL by storm.
Yeah.
All right, this is going to be one of the more interesting matchups of the week right here, I think. New York Giants at Dallas Cowboys. So no Tony Romo. You're going to be looking at Dak Prescott. Got the new guy, Ezekiel Elliott, in there for Dallas. And then the New York Giants, obviously Eli Manning, but they spent big on the defense this offseason. Most money by far. And they're looking to make a splash here.
The Dallas Cowboys offense, I've been a little intimidated by them. I mean, I think they're going to be really, even with Dak Prescott in there, they have so many weapons. Ezekiel Elliott, Dez Bryant, Jason Witten to a lesser extent. Having one of the best offensive lines in football.
That's true. That is absolutely key.
And I think that's the scariest thing. I mean, They have such a good offensive line. I like the Dallas Cowboys in this game. Their defense, not as strong, but I don't. The Giants. I mean, who do they have? They have OBJ obviously, and Ryan Jennings.
Rashad
Jennings. Sorry. So, I like Cowboys in this one at home. Cowboys getting the win over the Giants.
It's difficult for me to be so confident in a guy who, like we said with Wentz and some of these other guys, Prescott just doesn't have regular season action under his belt.
Yeah.
So it's going to be difficult to put too much faith in this guy, but I do think that he's going to be able to pull a win out of this one. Cowboys, I'll take probably 24-17. I'll take Cowboys. OBJ gets a touchdown and a pretty decent day. But in the end, it's going to be that offensive line that's just too good at protecting the Cowboys' offense, and I'm gonna say it's going to be a pretty big day for Zeke Elliott in the backfield.
I like to see him start off his rookie season with a
back up all the hype.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he's ever since he ran over that Cam Chancellor. Cam Chancellor.
Yeah.
Did I say his name right there? Cam Chancellor.
I think Chancellor was throwing quite a bit of respect towards him too, saying like it kind of caught him by surprise how kind of physical and talented he
can go around a guy or he can go through a guy. You don't see that often anymore, so I'd like to see him do well.
Okay, Lions at Colts now. This is kind of a intriguing one too, I think. You got Matt Stafford. These are both, I think, very offensive-minded teams, clearly. You got Matt Stafford and company, and then you've got Andrew Luck and the Colts.
Don't really know what the Colts are yet because they're just such an unknown commodity because of how years have gone the past 2 years. They've been bad.
You want to talk about exactly the opposite of the Cowboys' offensive line. I mean, Andrew Luck gets thrown around like a rag doll back there. Yeah. It's not really that funny.
Yeah, he gets ripped up basically 6 or 7 times at least per game. So Detroit Lions, they don't have Megatron anymore, so who do the Detroit Lions have in offense? Is it just Matt Stafford throwing it to guys? I'm trying to, other than Anquan Bolden, I'm trying to think of names.
I mean, they got Golden Tate. Oh yeah, Golden Tate's back there as one of their wideouts.
Amir Abdullah had some games last year where he broke out, so they're probably expecting a little more from him. But
not a whole lot going on there.
There's not a whole lot going on between. I don't know. I guess I'll give it to the Colts since they're at home. I'm not high on the Detroit Lions right now, so yeah, I'm giving it to the Colts.
I picked them to be one of my playoff teams, so I feel like I have to go with an upset here. It seems like the Colts might have the upper hand, but somehow, some way, I think the Detroit Lions. This is probably my one bold move of the week, really, where I'm going to say that Stafford and company go into Indianapolis and they take down Andrew Luck. So I think I'm going to say probably 28-21.
If they can get to Andrew Luck, anything is definitely possible, and it's easy to get to Andrew Luck if past indication is anything.
It could be even higher than 28. It could be like 35-28 or something. It could be a lot of offense in this game.
Yeah.
Okay, this is probably going to be the most highly contested matchup of the entire week, I think, just between two absolute powerhouses. You got the New England Patriots and Arizona Cardinals.
Sunday night, right?
I picked these two teams in the Super Bowl. Who you got?
Ooh, this is going to be fun. Start of the season, Jimmy Garoppolo in for QB. I think that changes the tide. I think I'm going to go Cardinals without Brady. Just not enough. Cardinals are going to take it.
Unfortunately, I have to be a realist here. I'm not just going to be that dumb sports fan that takes his team no matter what. You got to know when the odds are against you, and I think that the Arizona Cardinals... Maybe I'm jinxing the Cardinals here, too. Who knows? But the Cardinals... Palmer and company, like I've already mentioned how many weapons they've got, both on offense and defense. This is at Arizona, too. Jimmy Garoppolo has not started an NFL game. Well, he might have started one last year. I'm not entirely sure, but he just doesn't have hardly any experience under his belt with Brady being the mainstay there in New England. He's got plenty of weapons around him. Edelman, Amendola, Gronk, all those guys are ready to go week one.
Bennett.
And that New England defense, I still think, is underrated year by year. So,
oh, absolutely.
It's going to be a little tighter than I think people will realize, because a lot of people might think that just Garoppolo gets swallowed up by the defense. But I think he'll do okay. He'll hold his own there for a little bit. But I'm going to say probably Let's go 24-17, something like that. Arizona Cardinals.
Gotcha. All right. Then we're on to that Monday night, the 2 Monday night classic games.
I am not a fan of either of these matchups. What pathetic Monday night matchups for a week.
Remember when Monday night used to have the prime? I feel like this has been a shift, just a complete shift. Monday night used to be crazy good games.
It's now the Sunday night games.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was with the transfer of Al Michaels and John Madden. That's what.
Yeah, Michaels and Chris Collinsworth are doing the Sunday night. I think they're viewed as like the better guys to commentate, and then you've got like Mike Tirico. But I think Tirico left this year.
Tirico was the one good thing I liked about ESPN, and now he's gone over to NBC. So he was supposed to be doing the Thursday night games. That might not work out due to some contract specific, like there being kind of. What's the word? I don't want to use the word that I'm thinking of. They're being very stickler about it, very sticking to the rules on this one of his contract. So he may not be able to be in any games till late in the season. But yeah, NBC has become the prime time. Sunday night has become the best game of the week. But yeah, let's go through these 2 games, even as disappointed as we are that they're Monday night. And why are these games on Monday night?
So the first one I think is going to be not really that close. Pittsburgh Steelers at Washington Redskins. Yeah, Redskins have home field advantage, but is there any chance that the Redskins have of beating this powerhouse of Pittsburgh?
Unless Josh Norman locks down an entire half of the field, I don't see it happening.
Well, if Norman's been talking a lot of talk, like he's been underrated and he doesn't like how people don't consider him in the same class as like Sherman and Revis and these other guys.
It's time to prove it.
Time to prove it, man. You've got the guy, Antonio Brown, to guard this week. That's if they don't pull some like Richard Sherman type thing where it's like, oh, well, Norman's only on this half of the field, so Brown's on the other half.
Yeah.
So, hopefully those two do knock heads together, and I want to see some nice old-fashioned battling.
Yeah, the not Josh Norman OBJ battle was pretty awesome, so I can't wait to see the Josh Norman up against any primetime receiver is good stuff, so I'm excited.
Yeah, in all honesty, I'm going to probably say 35-14.
Yeah, Steelers dominate. Kirk Cousins does his best. I wanted to yell whatever he yells right now, but I just forgot what the line is. So, Pittsburgh is going to blow them out. And that leads us to the final matchup.
It was you like that. You like that?
Oh, you like that? Yeah, you like that. We are going to like the blowout. All right, we are going to like it, Kirk.
All right, and the biggest matchup of the week. The Los Angeles Rams visiting Levi's Stadium.
Southern California visits Northern California.
Obviously, this is a playoff preview right here between the Rams and the Niners. You've got Blaine Gabbert in one corner and Case Keenum in the other. Jared Goff is inactive. And Colin Kaepernick, the flag hater, on the bench for the Niners.
I don't know why this game's in prime time. Okay. I'm a Niners fan.
Todd Gurley?
I don't understand this. Todd Gurley's a good player. Apparently, I don't know.
Probably the only good player on the entire field.
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, it's going to be
Jeff Fisher and Chip Kelly.
Yeah, it's 8-8 versus 5-11, maybe at their best. So what are we getting here at the late game on a Monday night? You know what? It's at San Francisco and Levi's Stadium. I hate the Rams. Niners are winning it. That's just my biases 100% completely coming through.
I am not a huge Blaine Gabbert guy at the helm. I think he's just there because he's not terrible.
Oh, and yes, I agree.
The Rams defense is very good. A lot of people overlook the Rams defense. Robert Quinn and those guys on the defensive side of things, they handle their business. I'm not entirely too confident in Case Keenum, but although to be fair, Case Keenum put up some pretty decent numbers last year actually. But and I just can't get behind Chip Kelly. I can't do it. I can't see Chip Kelly winning his first game in San Francisco. I think this is going to be the start of a long season for Niners fans, unfortunately. I'm sorry, Eric, but the Rams are going to win this one.
I don't think Chip Kelly's worse than Jim Tomsula, though, so I'm...
well, it's pretty hard to get to
exactly. As long as you're not farting in your press conferences, okay, this season's going to be a success for me. All right.
I am going to take Rams probably. Let's see. This is going to be another ugly one. Let's go with, I'm going to say 16-7, and the Rams get a safety.
You started with that 6 there, and I was like, is he going to go 60-7? And I was like, yeah, it's going to be bad. 16-7, 0-2, who knows? It's going to be bad football. I already said I'm taking the Niners because I'm biased. I don't have any much more to give beyond that. It's going to be a fun week 1 if you aren't a Niners fan.
That it will be. It's going to be a fun first week in the NFL altogether, really.
That's true.
I'm excited to get another sport back in the mix. It's going to be a great time of the year, really. You got pennant races in baseball coming down to the playoff picture, and then you're going to have football starting up, getting everybody all hyped up, and then not too far away, you're going to have the NBA rolling back in, too. So.
And hockey's doing their World Cup thing right now. We'll see if that gains any traction or not. So big sports, all four.
Lot of big time sports thing. It's been dead for a little while. There's been just a lot of baseball and not a whole lot else going on, especially after the Olympics conclude and everything.
We're past
but now,
the August and July swoon.
Slowly gonna welcome back all of these exciting other sports back into the mix, and then all of a sudden you're not gonna know what to watch.
Exactly. You could go from not having any sports to watch to having too many sports to watch.
Needing 3 TVs in your room. Yeah.
Exactly. I have 4.
So I think on that note, we are going to go ahead and wrap up the show for today. So
Sounds good.
It's been a fun one. Been fun to take just one sport and really just mash it home for you. So we'll be back to covering everything that's going on next week. But it's been fun just getting you ready and getting hyped for this week 1 of the NFL season.
Absolutely. Social media.
Yeah, we'll throw out a social media real quick. As always, hit me on the tweets at Dalton Wicks. Also, Dalton Wicks on Facebook. Eric?
At EH24 the Mamba on Twitter. Eric Harmon on Facebook. N Harmon Show on Facebook. On iTunes. N Harmon Podcast. iTunes. Facebook, Spreaker.
Yeah, give us a like, subscribe to us on YouTube and iTunes especially, and we'll keep putting these out there for you.
We're going to do some more Facebook Live. We tried that out last show, and it was a lot of fun, so we'll probably be doing that again.
Yeah.
Give you guys some warnings so you can get some user interference. Interaction, not interference. So, yeah. If you're having a good day, having a good night, whenever you're listening, hope you're having a good whenever.
You stay classy.